Okay, welcome, Jannecke.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm very good. I am in the middle of launching a magazine and a new online platform and changing my whole Wisdom from North, which is my work and my love and my baby. So a lot of things are going on, and I just moved outside the city, and I never thought that was going to be so much, take so much time. Yeah. I think I was a bit naive there. But it feels lovely now. Mm-hmm. But oh my goodness, like I haven't opened my Mac in, I don't know, a couple of weeks almost, it felt like, because it was just so much to do. And but now I am, in the new apartment, and it feels great. By the sea, and I have a little garden. It's beautiful.
Sounds beautiful. So tell us about your new platform or project, or what do you call it?
Yeah, well, I guess many of the listeners don't know what I'm doing, so I can explain a little bit. I've been working with Wisdom from North, that's my company, for 6 years, and I started out doing interviews on YouTube, interviewing people about the big questions of life, because I was so curious myself. And I interviewed amazing people, like spiritual teachers like Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Teal Swan, and Byron Katie. And I've been doing that for many years, and then I started doing live evenings in Oslo, inviting people to on the stage. But all of a sudden, I felt that I was growing so much inside, but Wisdom from North was not growing. And I was asking myself, so what is the plan here? Is it to do interview after interview until you die? Because I felt like I had grown so much inside myself. I had begun this school with this teacher in Norway, and that had changed me a bit. So it was like Wisdom from North was not reflecting my inner world anymore. So I felt something needed to change, and it came to a point where I was like, maybe I should shut down the whole Wisdom from North and just do something else, because I can't just continue. And I think I'm a person like that needs to continuously follow my inner urge, an inner song. If I don't, then I don't feel authentic. I don't work. Like I have to go in the flow of who I am. So I was asking the universe, give me a sign, give me clarity. And it didn't come, and I waited, I was very frustrated. And I even started going on interviews for jobs and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, one evening in March, it just, the clarity just came. And I was sitting online, and I saw a website, and I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make it in my own style. And it was such a clarity that I knew that this was what I wanted to do. And I love that. I've only received clarity like that twice in my life. And the first one was in 2012 when I started the interviews, and the other time was now. So I knew I could trust it. So it's basically that I wanted to create a platform where we are interacting more, where we're learning together, like a learning platform, where we're empowering ourselves and transforming ourselves. So I just launched a magazine, an online magazine, where transformational teachers are giving me articles from Norway, from Sweden, from Denmark, and it's all in English, and transformational teachers from all around the world. And also in November, I'm opening up a membership site where there will be courses and classes by different transformational teachers that I find are the best, because I've interviewed over 400, so I've met a lot of them. And then we're going to have different challenges and a tribe group so we can interact, because I have been lacking a place where I can go where I'm continuously inspired. Because I felt that it's good to be inspired one weekend, go to a workshop, but then it just tends to doze off. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, when you come back to reality, it's
right.
Fades.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I basically want to create a platform where you can go back again and again and find new classes and continuously grow and be inspired and do it together with more people. So I'm excited about that. It's the first time I'm doing it, so I have no idea how it will go, but I have this feeling that this is what I want to do, so I'm very excited. And I won't give up. I will just keep going if it doesn't work in the beginning. And I think, me being like an entrepreneur, it's two parts of this, because on one part I'm trying to, get a business going. At the other part, I'm just following my heart, which is just free flowing. And I'm just going to do it. And that's sometimes those two don't quite go together. But I think that's the challenge, that you have to live, you have to survive. And at the same time, I think it's important to follow your heart and follow your calling.
Yeah. And I guess at times the mind, you could say, sort of says, whoa, careful now. Don't do any risky things. Want to keep it safe. You want to not go outside of the perimeter you're set for yourself and your limits, and you're challenging that, and you're daring to go into the unknown. Like you said, you've been doing this now for 6 years, and I think in a very clever way you found a way to use what you've learned to actually help you on your path, because now you have you know all the people who you talk to them, you have the base for this beautiful cake that you can make.
Yeah.
And at the same time, obviously there are risks involved when you do something you haven't done before. But to me, it seems quite apparent that that's the whole point. Because if not, there wouldn't be worth doing anything. Exactly like just continuing doing the same thing seems to make you bored, and sort of it takes sort of life out of you, like in the beginning when something's new and you're sort of exploring this unknown space. It's revitalizing, and you're sort of like, ooh, and you want to get up in the morning, and then 5 years in, and you're sort of like, still doing this thing, because it might seem that like the point is what you're doing right now is like you're growing.
Yeah.
And growth is change.
Right.
And change is good.
Right.
Yeah.
But
scary.
It's super scary. It's super scary.
I know.
And
super scary.
It's like I'm being challenged on my most vulnerable things. It's interesting. It's like I'm seeing the intelligence of the universe, like putting into my lap what I'm most afraid of. And I know what that is, and I see that I have to step up, because if I don't, I'm not growing. So I don't feel like this is my ego, like, I want to make this bigger. It's not about that. It's about breaking through what I'm afraid of. And that is really stepping up. That is really doing what is necessary to actually make a difference, to start speaking more myself what I believe in, to become more visible. Is that the word? Seen, visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect word.
Which is very scary, because it's very safe to just interview people. And
then you're just the interviewer.
Yes, correctly. And now I'm like taking a stand in a whole different way. It's very exciting. That's why my heart knows, but my mind does not know how this is going to go at all. But I have to follow my own teaching in a way. I'm talking about follow your dream all the time. So I have to do it.
It would be kind of absurd to follow your dream. I'm not going to follow mine. I'm just going to continue doing the safe thing that I've always been doing. Yeah.
Right.
But it is like you have seen where you're heading, and the fears are just kind of the mind that are adjusting, to the new truth, in a sense. Like, okay, I've seen the next floor or the next level or the next me, but my mind isn't used to that. So there's a lot of like stuff to to work with, to let go of, or expose in your own mind.
Yes, it's like you moving into a new form of yourself. And it's very interesting. I had this thought on the bus today because I was trying to explain to my co-creator that I don't think we can plan every month in detail, because it's like I need to, and I was like, how am I going to explain this to you? But I had this feeling that the blueprint is already there. I just have to understand what it is.
Yeah.
And in order to understand it, I have to go through it. And then I know. And I know it's there. I just don't, my mind doesn't understand it. And I'm so sure about that, but I cannot quite explain it.
Yeah.
I think that's the mind's
sense.
biggest problem, right? Is it needs it sort of, it wants it before. You want to know what the experience is like before you have the experience, which obviously makes no sense at all. But like from an ego mind state of view, it's sort of like, well, I want to know, is this chocolate any good before I taste it?
Right.
Just because if it's not good, I'm not going to try it. So if someone says, don't try that chocolate is no good, I'm not going to try it. Even though I haven't tried it, so I don't know if it's any good. Maybe that person doesn't even like chocolate. Why do I listen to him or her? And I think it's very interesting, right? Because we're always like, it's sort of, I don't know if battle is a good word for it, but like the heart and the mind is sort of wants different things, and that's sort of where the fun happens, right? Because that's how you grow. You challenge the mind, and the heart sort of come on.
It's like the mind is just a tool to.
This is also very true.
Deal with the moment, like they're here now. Like, okay, what's the next task? It's the problem solving.
Yes,
machine,
the problem solving mind. Yes,
but it can't read the blueprint because the blueprint is not written in another language, which is the heart language or intuition language or whatever. So
right.
So they can work perfectly together, but not if we confuse them. Like trying to read the other language and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating when you just know, that clear cognizance, when you just know, but you don't have words for it. But I'm wondering about where, I don't know the word in English, krysningspunktet, in a way that how they go together. Like in one way you need to plan something, but in
where
another,
they intersect or their meeting point. Yeah.
Yes. Because you need to plan, right? You need to have a plan. If I don't have a plan, if I just improvise, the whole membership every month, it will be chaos.
Yes.
And as well, control come in here, because when I do have a certain control, I relax. Because I know, okay, this course will come at that time, and that will come at that time. So I have control, but in another way, I also need to be spontaneous and flexible and see how, the members will react what they want. So, and that's with everything. Like we need to be in the moment as well as we need to have a plan. And I'm wondering about that intersection. Yeah. How much you should plan, how much you should not plan. That's something I'm continuously working with in my mind these days.
Order and chaos.
Yes. Right,
yeah.
Right.
But
and
I think
you want the perfect balance. Sorry, I'm interrupting you all the time.
Order and chaos.
Order and chaos.
I think that there's one thing we talked about actually in the last episode, which is life comes always down to either saying yes or no to life, or wondering which option you should choose to have the right tool to be able to deal with yes or no to life. So it means when you are lost in that dilemma or question, it's what you are really asking is, which tool should I use to be prepared? Which has nothing to do with life, because life is about, are you saying yes or no to that flow, So we lose ourselves in the dilemmas of the questions of which are the tools or the things I should fix to be able to be prepared for life. So, yeah.
I see what you mean. At the same time, it gives me a certainty that I now came to a conclusion that, all right, I'm going to trust and have a plan, but the plan shouldn't be super specific.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that the plan is bad or anything. There is always like a way to handle it all, but I think that's sometimes we can get too lost in the questions rather than going for it.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think somehow you just have to feel your way into what works for you, in a sense, because I've been looking for the recipe, and I surprised myself because I know there's no recipe for this. When you're starting something new, and for all you guys out there who are starting something new, going for your dream, maybe you can recognize in yourself that you're like, so how do I do this? Where's the recipe? And there's no recipe because it hasn't been done before, and that's part of why it's so difficult to go for your dream and start your own business and do your own thing, because there's a blueprint somewhere in the universe, but there's not a person coming to you telling you what to do. That is what we experience when we go to work. You get, do this, do that.
You get told what to do.
Yeah.
But
so on that, so it's interesting that I'm looking for it. There's got to be a recipe, and there's no recipe, and I just have to invent it. It's just a creative, wonderful, weird process.
But I think that's so fascinating that we do that, and I'm certainly doing it myself. Like, we try always to use we are deciding that we're going to do something new that we haven't done before. But the first thing we do is to always look for the practical tools that that worked before. But even though it kind of doesn't make sense because it's something completely different we're going to do now. So that's the way we kind of close the door to actually be able to receive those new tools, Like, so we have to go through that phase first and deal with that. And then when we finally let go of that strategy that didn't work, then we realize the new tools or the new approaches to things,
Yeah,
that made sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have a hammer and a nail, you're using the hammer and the nail, and then someone else went to the shop to get more nails, but they get screws. So you're trying to hammer in the screws with the hammer. Works horribly. So you have
it works sometimes if the wood is soft enough.
This is true. I guess you could make it work okay. It's not going to work that well. But because you think you have the tool, but it's a different tool needed for the job. But you don't know about that tool yet, because you're thinking that there is only one tool to put pieces of metal into walls.
Yeah. Right.
But there is the screwdriver.
Yeah.
And when you find the screwdriver, you're like, oh,
right.
This is working so much better because I was trying to hammer it in, but it was more subtle. It was like twisting, and it was a more gentle process.
And then you have to find that screwdriver. Maybe you didn't know it existed even.
Yeah. And if you never knew what a screwdriver is, it's actually quite hard for us to imagine that. But if you never saw a screwdriver, only saw a screw, you would it would be a difficult task, like you're describing now, to sort of find a blueprint for a screwdriver if all you have is a screw and not sort of like the places in between. But we're so used to being told how stuff work and sort of given explanations and given the tools, that when you come to the point where you're actually trying to do something that, like you say, haven't been done before, you're struggling because you're so used to you can just go to the store and you can buy like a food processor if you want to make a certain type of cake.
Yeah.
But you're doing something completely different.
I gotta say though, it's a magical process. It's really magical, and like I said in the beginning, I think there's a blueprint in the universe. It feels like it, because when we did the website, the new website, my web designer, she does it, but I feel I'm explaining to her what I want, and I don't know how I can feel that that's wrong. That is right. There we are.
Your future self.
Yeah. And that's so fascinating.
Right.
Because it was like, there it was. It's aligned. That's wisdom
pretty
from
weird.
Yes.
Or pretty super cool.
Yeah.
Yes, and maybe we can trust that, you know, if we put trust in that there is not a right way.
No, but there is like an intelligence
yes.
outside of us, or inside of us,
Yeah.
or like in the on a level, like on a different level than the one that we're sort of like the speaking level, because there's like some sort of intelligence that we're sort of like sensing, but hard to conceptualize. And like you say, I just know what is right, but I know I sometimes feel, but shouldn't I be able to sort of base it on something, because
Right.
I just like this better, and it's like, oh, but why?
Right.
Says my tool, the mind. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you prefer the blue over the green? They're the same. But just
I
there's
just
something
do.
there. It's and I guess like not acknowledging the fact that you do actually have some knowledge and wisdom that you can access. If you sort of always say, no, I have to be rational about this, I cannot let my feelings get in the way, right? Or like your higher self, your future self, because it just sort of comes out of nowhere. You didn't like do lots of math to get like the result. It just looks great. But if you always sort of be like, no, that can't be it. You're sort of shutting your future self out. And then it's going to be real hard to get the blueprint for your idea. If you're sort of thinking, because the idea might come to you, right, from the good place, and then you're starting like, okay, so I have to put this idea into the world, so I have to use the tools that I know of, and then you're at the same time, you have the capacity to actually do these things, but you're not listening.
Right.
And you justify them out of your system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is a scary place to be in that uncertainty.
Yeah.
Very. But I think the more you experience that it is working for you, I think experience is everything. You know, when I have had clarity before, then I recognize the other clarity I got. When I have the experience of the intelligence coming and helping me, then I know I can trust it. Like I did a live video yesterday, and you can say that I've been on stage for so many times it shouldn't be scary, but for somehow or for some reason I haven't done many Facebook Live videos, so that was something new for me, and I was going to talk in 20 minutes. But I've experienced before that when I've been live, it's been coming, the words have been coming, so that's a good experience, so then I trust. So the more you have good experiences with something, the more you can trust in a way. It's difficult to trust if you don't have a positive experience.
Yes. Like in a relationship, you know, if you don't trust the other person, that's gonna be hard. Like, because they're saying something and you're like, well, can I trust them? Now, but if you trust that person like unconditionally, unless they're obviously lying to you, then you'd be in trouble. But at the same time, like, because we tend to not trust others, and I think more importantly, we don't trust ourselves. That what you're doing right now is that you're doing just that.
And I think being aware of that, like Øystein and I talked about celebrating when you accomplish something, so celebrate for yourself when you've done something you're proud of. Also being aware of good experiences, like putting them into a good box, you know, so that you can remember. So you build up good experiences around certain things that you can go back to and remember when you're doing it again, in a way.
Yeah.
Because I think what is hindering us is the bad experiences that are like in our subconsciousness. So it's the same with belief systems. I think I'm also talking about that at the same time. Negative belief systems, we have about something like I can't be a success, or I can never make money because something happened in my childhood where dad said money doesn't grow on trees or something like that. I think we can change that in our subconsciousness, but then I think we need awareness to build a new belief system and build positive experiences around that consciously. So we don't forget about, wow, I actually earned some money there. You know, I had flow. Remember that, you know, make that into a big thing. So,
celebrate it.
Yes.
Rejoice.
Yes.
There's I mentioned this probably many times before in the podcast, but it's like this realization I had talking about what kind of house do I want to live in, and I was asking my girlfriend the same question. What kind of, if money were an object, what kind of house would you like to live in, or apartment, or? And she didn't know because she hadn't thought about it. And at first, I was judging her because you should have thought about that, you know. But then I realized I had the same thing myself. Like I haven't thought about it because I don't know. It's just probably a belief that. Well, I don't know.
There does exist a belief system where you can say, I have this money and I can buy that house.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is that what happened after that was that we started looking at, you know, things without the label, the price tag on it, and then starting just for the feeling of it, look at like really, really extremely expensive houses. Just, okay, how does that feel, you know? And one realization is that once you look at a house that is costing like 50 million kroners, when you after that look at a house to 10 million kroners, it doesn't seem that expensive, you know, in the mind, in the feeling of it. That's one aha, you know. And then it's in that second it's way more reachable because it isn't that expensive, because you have the reference of something extreme. But the other realization after that process has kind of started is how much, you know, negative beliefs comes up in the second you ask for something that is out of reach. Like if you would if you could have the house you want, and you see this kind of house, and it might cost a lot of money, then your brain start instantly with all the reasons why it doesn't work, you know, why you can't do that, why you shouldn't do that because you're a spiritual person or whatever, all these kind of ideas. So what I've started doing now in my experience is that whenever I see that I want something, I train consciously not to follow the negative beliefs in that specific thing. Like, okay, and it can be like, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay, it's a new cell phone. Instead of telling myself all the reasons why I don't need it or why I shouldn't have it or what this, and I just follow the good feelings. Like, okay, it will help me do this, and I will feel this and that, and not judge any of the feelings or any of the thoughts, but just follow the good, like the things that lift you up. And I see how much that completely changes everything I approach in my life, that I only follow the desire, like I admit the desire of it, and I give it only positive energy and how it would help me feel better. And then it's so totally completely different than unconsciously go into all the negative alleys in your mind, you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
That means that you're very conscious though, and all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying, you know, more.
I'm impressed.
There is no try, there is only do.
I know. Marit said that, right?
Yeah.
Marit,
Yes, and Yoda.
Yeah.
Yoda. Ah, she got it from there.
No. This is this knowledge is accessible to us all because we all will know that. And I've been trying. No, damn it! It sneaks in everywhere. The point is that if you mentally and in your language use words like try and I forget the other words because you think
and kind of and
but so if you're when you're doing something, so like I for instance, you know, I thought I couldn't dive. So this summer, I challenged that truth. And at first it was like, I should try to dive. Well, that didn't work that well because I was only trying. But there is no trying. There is dive or not dive. It's like a computer program. It's not maybe 0 or maybe 1 or 0. And what happened was that, and then I dove.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or is that the soap?
Yeah.
That too.
It's a manufacturer, right? So then I did it. Obviously, I failed a couple of times, and then I learned a couple of things, and in the end, I could dive from like 2 meters. It might not look like I was an Olympic champion. Now I'm trying to reduce my experience, even though I am really proud of what I did. And like you're saying, celebrate your achievements, because that makes them achievements. But I found that to be like so interesting. Was like if I was standing up there and was like, okay, so I'm gonna try. It was impossible to do it, but if I said I'm gonna do it, then I did it.
It's so powerful.
And I can, when you start becoming sort of aware of it, you see that all of us constantly like, okay, so I'm gonna try to make our appointment on Wednesday, and I'm like, but either we do it or we don't do it, and all of this is sort of like these decisions that we sort of postpone, or we're afraid to sort of put ourselves out there.
It's like a safety.
Yeah. It's a fail-safe. So it's like, and me and Robert talked a lot about this, like with the podcast. It's like, okay, so do we dare to say that we're the universe observing ourselves, or is that or should we sort of be a bit more careful as to not seem too extreme? But there is no, like, we can only do it or not do it, and be sort of, if it comes from the heart, it's good.
I love that it's a synchronicity that you're talking about it, because I've been thinking a lot about my language, and it's part of one of the things I will focus on as a challenge in my membership platform, because I notice, Øystein, we talked about that, doing a practice over a long time. I think it's much easier when I do it together with someone, and because I have been... So what word am I going to use then? I have been in the process of observing my language, but I fall in and out. So when I'm doing this on my platform with my members, then I will dedicate myself more. So that is what I want to focus on, doing practices together with people now. It helps me. But back to the language, yes, I've noticed that I say trying a lot. I notice that I start the sentences with but a lot. And that, I mean, what does that do? It just stops everything. It's like in the opposite of everything. Yeah. You know, there's always a but. And also... the word mann in Norwegian, and I would translate it probably to one does this, like when one wakes up in the morning, instead of saying when I wake up in the morning. So I'm not experiencing, or I'm distancing myself from the experience.
Yeah, with the language.
Yes. And saying a lot of kind of, and you know. I mean, that is a language thing in Norwegian, liksom and bare. But still, I think we are distancing ourselves from ourselves. So that is that is something I'm very focused on these days, and I think it will actually help me. But it's all about the awareness. It's all about practicing. Not trying. Is practicing good?
Practicing is good, right? Because you need, and it's like with anything, right? You have to do it, and practice makes perfect.
Right.
Now, perfect is not a goal in itself, because nothing is perfect, and that's perfect. But if you're going to do something, you're just going to have to do it. Like if you want to bake a cake, you can't try to bake a cake. You have to bake a cake. It might fail, but then you bake the cake. And then you can do it again and again and again. Or like, I like the example of skydiving. If you try to skydive, then you're actually holding on to the airplane, sort of hanging outside of it. And it's like, I'm trying.
It makes sense with like extreme examples.
Well, if you just let go, you can actually skydive.
I see how...
You might die, but then again, you might from eating the cake. It's not good for you, unless it's like a healthy cake, and then you're fine.
I just realized so many things in my life right now where I just try. And yeah, like with exercise is one thing. Like I have had realizations, and I've had changes in that recently. Like for a long time, I tried to meditate every day.
Yeah.
Right now, I actually do meditate every day in the week, and I don't know. It's because I don't longer try to do it. I just have decided to do it, and it's effortless. But like with work, I see how much I do this thing with deadlines. That there is I get the question, can you deliver like this by Wednesday? Yeah, I'll try. and then I see so clearly now how that's just me not wanting to make the decision.
But still, though, okay, sorry, now it came again, but still. And still, what if you didn't manage it and you promised that you were going
to? But that's the, I think, what I'm afraid, I think that's
when you're learning. So you know, right, if they say, can you make it by Wednesday? Now, either you, through experience, know Wednesday, that's not enough time.
Yeah.
And then you'll say, no, that's not enough time. Or you'll say, yes, I'll do it. And then you'll fail. And you have learned that doing it within that time frame doesn't work.
Yeah.
When you said, I try, whether you fix it or fail, you have learned nothing.
It's true.
Because there's
this thing like, that I just realized that I've been so many times in my life, I've been trying, in the sense that I've gotten what do you call it, a proposal or a deadline from my boss or from some kind of working environment or for someone else, and I haven't listened to myself, and I've said yes, I'll do it, and then I've tried in the sense of putting in a lot of energy with resistance in myself. So I haven't really said yes. I've just like, fuck, why do I need to do this? And then I've delivered with like wearing out my whole energy on something I didn't care about. So the trying part has actually become much bigger part of my life for the last few years, because since I started awakening, I was so tired of doing that first part with wearing myself out that my reaction was to never take that decision. And then I've been trying just
ever since.
More. So that's interesting to see. I think it's going to change some things in my experience now.
Now, if you don't think it's going to change, but you say it's going to change, all of a sudden you're propelling yourself forward instead of going forward while holding the door.
It has changed something in my continuous experience from this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, our language is, us speaking is a very powerful, thing that propels us forward.
Now we're so conscious of what we're saying.
It's insane, right? Because the moment you start thinking about it's in
I can't say anything now. I know.
But if you want to do something, you need that forward motion. But if you're always sort of fail-safing it, because failure it sort of sucks, right? You don't want to fail. You want to succeed.
That's the concept we have in society, that failure is bad.
So what's the road to success paved with?
Good intentions.
No, that's the road to hell.
Okay.
But the road to success is paved with the failure, because you see, to master something, you also have to be willing to fail. That doesn't mean you'll fail every time, but if you fail, that doesn't mean you have failed. It means that you can do it again until you master it.
Right, you're one step closer.
It's a process. It's a path. Now, for instance, I would think, like with diving. Okay, so I'm going to try diving. And then, it wasn't a dive. It was like a belly flap or whatever it's called in English. You look dumb and you hurt your stomach. And I said, I couldn't do that. So, never going to try that again. Try. But it's all a process. So I'm thinking it's so it's so great when you talk about sort of like, I just got this feeling that I had to do something, and I'm doing it, even though at times it feels like it's a risk involved and it might fail. All of these things might be true, but you're doing it, and either way, you're winning because you're doing it. And people tend to forget that because failure seems like such a place that you wouldn't want to go. But that's the only way to get somewhere, is to actually do it.
But this is, I'm very eager. This is a very big thing, and it's going really deep, I feel like. Because I think it's a deep fear that we have in us, all of us, of being pointed out as, oh, you didn't make it.
Yeah, the failure.
Yes. Yeah. So being so bold that I'm saying I'm just going to do it, it's really scary. I want to say that I'm trying to get this platform going,
Yeah, because then you can't fail, right? Because you're just trying.
Right. And I think it goes back to childhood. And especially in Norway, you shouldn't think you are too much janteloven and everything. We're so afraid of being pointed out. You said you were doing it and you're not doing it. That's shame. And what is like the lowest feeling, vibrating emotion existing? It says that is shame and guilt.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
This is really deep stuff. Just the words that seem so superficial in a way. Oh, it's just words. Like I should practice not saying I'm trying, but it's really deep.
Yeah,
stuff.
because at the same time, we all can acknowledge that words are super powerful. For instance, if you want something or you want to like achieve something, if you just think it seems to go nowhere. If you say it out loud, all of a sudden it has way much power. Now, for instance, like if so you're gonna change your diet. So if you're thinking about changing your diet, nothing happens. So you're saying it. But if what you're saying is, I think I'm going to change my diet, that doesn't really do anything.
Or you maybe try something in that thinking time.
And you will try it.
And you end up not doing something after the try.
Yes. Yeah. But if you say, I'm going to change my diet. Now, if you continue saying that, you're going to change your diet.
Right, you can't say it without meaning it.
Yeah, because all of a sudden there is no turning back.
So here's a question. Because in one situation, like in a typical situation where I would say try, I'm going to try doing it. It's very often because I don't have a clear image in my head that it actually works. That task or whatever. Like one example is that I think I mentioned before is that the first time I learned to crack an egg and in a, what do you call it?
To make an omelette into a bowl or something,
and actually crack the egg without having the eggshells in the whole thing. And that's actually not too many years ago that I actually mastered that skill. So I remember this specific moment when it turned from not working to working, which was when I suddenly had this image in my head that I know how to do this. But before that point, it was always, getting messy because I didn't have the image in my head that, I know how to do this. So the question is, where in that process we are talking about now, coming from trying to actually doing or mastering or whatever, do you need that image to or the belief or whatever you call it to make it work, or how does it work? Because
well, I'm gonna tell you.
Finally.
Well, isn't it kind of back to what we were speaking about, that I felt that I had a blueprint but I didn't know what it was? I don't know if these things are linked. And I don't know if we should cut out trying in our language. Is that the point? Or is there a way where we try a bit and then we let go of trying and then we're doing?
Yeah, this is interesting. But so I'm thinking of another example. So I'm going to see if that gets us anywhere. But when you food. So there are many types of food, and some you like and some you don't like. And typically you say, okay, so I'm going to try it. And it seems to me that you can't try new things. So the word does sort of feel applicable to something and maybe not to other. Like, so you're trying a new dish, like tasting it, to sort of get a sense of what it's like. But there also at the same time, if you're by trying saying that I don't have to like it. Now, because have children, and the children will typically say, I don't like that. But what I've noticed, and with myself included, is that if your intention is that you don't want something, you can say, I'd try, but you decided already that you're not gonna. So you can use try just to camouflage not doing something. But obviously the word must still have somewhere you can use it.
Yeah, because the word is a tool of the mind to approach a situation without making the decision yet. So it's a very practical tool. It's just that we misuse it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, maybe that's the thing again, is the balance.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to have some space or room for not making a decision all the time.
Yeah.
Because we're bombarded with making decisions every day.
It's true.
So it is kind of this hvilested, this
a resting place.
Resting
or like
place. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the point would be that our words is something we can do to put things into the world. But we have to be conscious about how we use those words, because if we're unconscious and just sort of use them without actually thinking about what we're saying, we end up not saying anything at all, because we're just filling up empty space. We're like, I think I'm gonna go to the beach tomorrow, and
yes, I mean, I think that's the point, that it's all about balance, and also exaggerating something won't work. Like if we're, I can't say that word, or I can't say that word, that all of a sudden you feel like you can't speak.
Yeah, then it's limiting.
Yes.
But it's becoming conscious of, when I say I'm going to try to lose weight, that's actually not helping me to lose weight. Yeah. I'm not saying anyone should lose weight, but my example is.
But it's only like if you use it as an avoidance strategy, that's when the...
Yeah.
And you get to know yourself then when you notice that,
Yeah.
And that's scary, looking into ourselves. So it's a really good tool to get to know yourself. I love that about the spiritual path and self-development. There's so many angles into this. There's so many perspectives that can help you. It's not only just one way, like meditating. That fixes everything. No, you have 1,000 ways of actually getting to know yourself.
And it's available to you all the time.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So where can we find your new magazine and your platform?
You can find it online on wisdomfromnorth.com/magazine, and we will give out one new article each week. And there are already many articles there, and one of them is by you, Øystein, a beautiful article, and also a video that you made. And we have a comic stripe by a very interesting lady that's called Vantina Andreasen. I love her comic stripes. I was really proud of getting that on my magazine. And then 9th of November, we will launch, have the big launch for the membership site. And then if people want to get to know more about that and be part of it, they can register on my newsletter to get all the information. And that's also on my website. And I'm, of course, also on YouTube. There's tons of videos there on Wisdom from North.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
From
North.
Right. Yes.
How much wisdom is there available?
Around here, around the table, you mean, or in the world?
I think either would be okay. Think of the title of the podcast. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not following you now.
Oh, oh no! This always fails. There's infinite knowledge. It's right.
Oh, it's like the last question.
Oh, maybe you didn't feel that we were done. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought it was just, I don't know.
Oh, it was just a question.
Another
Sorry.
question. Okay, so ask again. Ask again.
No, I forgot what was I asking about. Sorry. I became embarrassed. How much knowledge is there available?
Well, infinite.